Jai Sri Ram to everyone. Pranams to everybody.
Pranam,
Again, I would like
pranam.
to wish all of you are healthy. As I said, when I say healthy, means you're healthy physically, you're healthy mentally, you're healthy emotionally, you're healthy socially, you're also healthy environmentally, you're also healthy, and spiritually, you're also healthy. So health encompasses all these areas. Okay, okay. Thank you again for coming to our fifth session of Srimad Valmiki Ramayanam, session 5. Session 5, we are still in Balakandam. And in this session 5, we are going to conclude Balakandam of Valmiki Ramayana. After the marriage of Rama and Sita, Rama's encounter with Parasurama, after completion of 77 chapters, we will conclude. Today, we will be concluding uh, book 1, that is Balakandam. Okay, once we have completed book 1, Balakandam, we are going to review some of the important incidents, important what they call lessons that we can learn from Balakandam. Okay, at the end of our session today, maybe the last 10 minutes, depending on the time, we might do a breakout session. You can also discuss with the other participants on some of the lessons that you can apply. Of course, I will also provide you from my perspective what are some of the lessons that we can learn from Balakandam. There are about 7 or 8 lessons that I have prepared here. I will share with you too. Okay, all right. So in this session, we're going to look into from chapters 66 to chapter 77. Okay. Now, before we start our session, let us do our normal prayers and salutations to Lord Ganesha, who is a remover of obstacles. Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvikam Gurume Devo Sarvakayeshu Sharvadha Saraswati Namastubhyam Varadhe Kamarupini Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavadhu Mishada. Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Sashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyaye Sarva Vignopasantaye. Let's salute Lord Hanuman, who is ever present wherever Ramayana is being read or wherever Lord Ram's names are being chanted. Yatra yatra Raghunama Kirtanam, Tatra tatra Krisamasta Kanjalim, Bashpavari Paripurna Lochanam, Marutim Namatha Raksha Shantakam. Pujantam Ramarameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam, Aruhya Kavita Shakam, Vande Valmiki Kokilam. So we are going to start our session 5 with a review of session 4. In session 4, we have covered about 15 chapters. And if you look at the coverage of session 4, it was all about the legend of Vishwamitra. So we learn about Vishwamitra, the teacher, one of the teacher of Lord Rama. Lord Rama had many teachers. Among the teachers includes Vashishta. So when he was in a Gurukula, when he was a child, he learned under Vashishta. And then he had many other teachers. In fact, not only Vishwamitra. When you go further in Aranyakanda, we will learn that he will go through many ashramas. And then in those ashramas, he will also learn from many other teachers. So one of the teachers who taught Rama, the many astras and sastras, the missiles, and also Bala and Atibala was Vishwamitra. So Vishwamitra legend was narrated from chapters 51 up to 65. Okay, we learn about Vishwamitra and Vishwamitra's conflict with Vashishta. Vishwamitra wanted to gain Kamadhenu, okay, from Vashishta. Vashishta refused, and then there was a fight between Vishwamitra and Vashishta, and Vishwamitra lost because the austerity of Vashishta. Vashishta was a Brahma Rishi. Vishwamitra not able to what they call defeat Vashishta. So he went and did tapasya. Great tapasya was done by Vishwamitra. And then he go in various missiles given to him by Lord Shiva. And again he went to what they call fight with Vashishta. Again Vishwamitra lost to Vashishta. And then again he went for further tapasya. And in chapters 57, 58, 59, and also 60, there was a story about King Trisanku who wanted to go bodily to heaven, which was not possible. His guru Vashishta rejected. He said, not possible. Sons of Vashishta also rejected, and he was cursed to become a Chandala. And Vishwamitra took up the challenge to create a separate heaven for Vashishta. When Indra himself, Indra said, no way, Trisanku will be able to enter into the heaven. So what the Vishwamitra did, he created another heaven for what they call Trisanku. And we also learn about the legend of Sunatshepa, who surrendered to Vishwamitra, and he was protected by the mantra given by Vishwamitra. And the legend of Vishwamitra continued. He further did tapasya. Indra was as usual wanted to disrupt the tapasya of Vishwamitra, send Menaka. He succeeded. So after 10 years with Menaka, after Shakuntala was born, which is not narrated in Valmiki Ramayana, the birth of Shakuntala, but you will find in Mahabharata, Vishwamitra continued his tapasya, and then Indra sent what we call Ramba. Vishwamitra became very angry. He cursed Ramba, and then he realized that he became what he call slave to lust. He overcame what we call lust, but he was not able to overcome anger. So what he did, he continued and continued to do tapasya until he reached a stage where Brahma himself came, Vashishta himself and came, and then Vishwamitra was what they call promoted to a Brahma Rishi. He became Raja Rishi, Maharishi, from Raja Rishi to Maharishi, and from Maharishi he became Brahma Rishi. All this from chapter 51 up to chapter 65 was narrated to what they call Janaka, Rama, Lakshmana, and to the assembly of sages at Mithila, kingdom of Mithila, by Sadananda. Sadananda was the Purohita of King Janaka, and Sadananda was the son of Gautama Muni and Ahalya. Okay, that was a narration that we have learned, that we have covered in session 5. In session 4. Session 4 was all about the legend of Vishwamitra. Okay, now in session 5, which is the last session for Balakanda. Balakanda we are going to conclude in this session. Next week we are going to go into Ayutthaya, which is book number 2 of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. So in session 5, we are going to look into chapters from 66 to 77. So Balakanda consists of 77 chapters. So in this in this session, we are going to look into the legend of Lord Shiva's bow, how Rama will be breaking the bow, and then the marriage of Rama to Sita will be announced, and just Dasarada will be sending messages to Ayutthaya to invite Dasarada to Mithilapuri. Okay, and then before the wedding, the lineage of both kings, that is Dasarada and also Janaka, will be narrated. Then marriage alliance not only to Rama and Sita, but also Lakshmana, Bharata, and Satrugna will be announced. So Janaka will give his another daughter, that is Urmila, to Lakshmana, and Kusadhwaja, brother of Janaka, will be giving a Mandavi to Bharata and Srutakriti to Satrugna. So what will happen is chapter 73 is the chapter of marriage between Sita and Rama. Sita's Rama's marriage will be in chapter 73. And then chapter 74, after the marriage, they will be going to Ayodhya, then they will meet Parasurama. So there will be a duel between Parasurama and Rama will defeat Parasurama. And then the last chapter will describe happy days after marriage, after the marriage between Rama and Sita. Okay, that will actually end the Balakanda, that is in chapter 77. So we learn about Vishwamitra from chapter 51 up to chapter 65. So after that, the next morning, no, you remember all the narration about Vishwamitra was narrated by Sadananda, okay, the Prohita of sage Janaka and the son of what you call Gautama Muni, and also the son of this Ahalya. Okay, now the next morning, after the narration of story of Vishwamitra, the next morning, if you are looking into the following morning, King Janaka invited sage Vishwamitra, Rama, and Lakshmana to his palace. And on their arrival, he respectfully honored them. As usual, Atiti Devo Bhavo. Guests need to be honored. And great guests like Vashishta, not Vashishta, sorry, Vishwamitra and Rama was duly honored by Janaka Maharaja. And Janaka asked, Holy Sir, dear Sir, I await for your command. What can I do for you? And in reply, Vishwamitra said, these two sons of Dasaratha, Rama and Lakshmana, are eager to see the famous Danu that you have. And the king sent for the Danus. It was said in Valmiki Ramayana, I did not write here, there are 5,000, thousands of people needed in order to carry the Danu. So it was actually narrated in some other versions of Ramayana that Sita, when she was a child, although the bow of Lord Shiva, the Danu was very heavy. Nobody will be, not many people. You need thousands of people in order to lift the bow of Lord Shiva. It was said in one of the versions of Ramayana that Sita, when she was a child, she was able to lift the Danu. And at that time, Janaka made a decision that any prince who are able to lift the bow will be given to marriage to Sita. That was a decision taken by Janaka at that time. This is not mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana, but you will find in other versions of Ramayana. Okay. Now, Janaka will also be narrating to Vishwamitra, Rama, Lakshmana, the birth of Sita. Sita actually was a divine child from Mother Earth. So Janaka said, I found this divine child in a furrow and called her Sita, adopted her as my own daughter. Okay, Sita is a daughter of Bhuma Devi, Mother Earth. It is also said that Valmiki also came from Bhuma Devi. Although Valmiki was a hunter, Ratnakal, also known as Harit, but after he did a tapasya, chanting the name of Rama, he chanted Mara, 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 Mara. Later it became Rama. He was asked to chant Mara, 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 became Rama. A great anthill grew. So he who came out from an anthill, Valmiki is the one who came out from the anthill. And commentators of Ramayana mentioned that anthill also represents the year of the earth, year of Bhuma Devi. So because Valmiki came from an anthill, he is also considered to be a son of Bhuma Devi. So Sita is also a daughter of Bhuma Devi. So it is said that Valmiki and Sita, they are brothers and sisters. This is from a commentator. I'm quoting from one of the commentators of Ramayana who said that Valmiki and Sita are brothers and sisters. How it is possible? Because Sita was the child, was a daughter from Bhuma Devi, and Valmiki also came from an anthill, which is considered to be the year of Bhuma Devi. So there are brothers and sisters. So when in Uttarakanda, when Sita was pregnant, Lakshmana was sent her to the ashram of Valmiki. Sita was taken care of by her brother. Okay, so they tried to connect the, what they call, Sita and Valmiki as brothers. This is from one of the commentary of Valmiki Ramayana, from one of the commentators of Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, now Sita grew up to be a beautiful young woman. Okay, it was mentioned about Sita's beauty many times in Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, it was decided that only a hero who can fire this weapon, that is a Dhanu, okay, of Lord Shiva, will earn the hand of Sita. So what Janaka mentioned to Vishwamitra was that if Rama fires this weapon, then I shall give him in marriage of Sita of divine origin. So chapter 66 mentions all the stories related to the bow of Lord Shiva, and also all that I have summarized here. Okay, it is found in chapter 66 of the Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. And chapter 67, Vishwamitra will request Janaka to show the bow to Rama. And the bow was shown, the Dhanu, Lord Shiva's Dhanu was shown to Rama. And remember that when it was shown to Rama, with the permission of Vishwamitra and Janaka, Rama lift the bow. See, Rama teaching us that it is ethical to get permission from his guru. At that time, Vishwamitra was a guru. Okay, one of the lessons from Balaganda is that Pitruvakya Paripalana. Okay, command of the father. Father commanded Rama to follow the instruction of Vishwamitra. So Rama requested the permission of Vishwamitra and the host, that is King Janaka. And then Rama lifted the bow and tied the string and draw it. So at that time, there was a great sound. The bow breaks into two pieces. It was a great sound that three worlds heard. What do you call it? It was heard in all the three worlds. So at that time, it was said, son of Jamadagini and Renuka, Parasurama also heard the sound that the bow of Lord Shiva was broken. So as promised, Dasaratha makes preparation to give Sita to Rama. And again, Rama said to King Janaka that it has to be sent to, Rama will tell Janaka that only with the approval of his father, Dasaratha, he will marry Sita. Okay, so what King Janaka will do is that he will send his people to convey the good news to Dasaratha and to bring King Dasaratha to Ayodhya. So in the next chapter, the envoys from Janaka Puri, from Midilapuri, reached Ayodhya and conveyed the message of King Janaka to King Dasaratha about his desire to give Sita in marriage to Rama. Dasaratha was very, very happy because at time before Dasaratha sent Rama and Lakshmana with Vishwamitra, Dasaratha was thinking about marriage of Rama. At that time, he was thinking about to whom and where to get Rama, get married before Vishwamitra came to Ayodhya. And now when Dasaratha heard the news and a message from Janaka that Sita will be married to Rama, he was extremely happy. Dasaratha was exhilarated at the news. After hearing the news, what he did, he consulted his gurus, his acharyas, and the minister about the proposal from Janaka. Say, you have to remember here, although Dasaratha can make a decision on his own, but as a king, okay, someone need to mute their audio. Can somebody mute the audio, please? Somebody mute the audio.
जी अपना ऑडियो प्लीज म्यूट करें. मीना
audio. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. You see, Dasaratha received this news from Janaka about marriage, that the Janaka wanted to give Sita to Rama. Dasaratha could have decided on his own, but you have to remember Dasaratha was the king of Ayodhya. The king have to make a decision after consultation with his gurus and the ministers. Okay, we find here Dasaratha communicated with his gurus and the ministers, because you remember Kautilya Arthasastra also mentions that a king's decision have to be taken care, have to always take care of the benefits or even the welfare of his citizens, welfare of his people. Remember the famous sloka from Chanakya that says that Praja Shukke Shukkam Ragyam. Praja, that means happiness of the citizens will be the happiness of the king. So after getting the positive decision that they all are happy and agree, even the gurus and the minister agree with the decision, then Dasaratha responded positively and he made the decision to go to Midilapuri. What happens is that in the next chapter, chapter 69, Dasaratha, along with his gurus, ministers, and even armies, traveled to Mithila. It was wealth and precious gem. So he wanted to give gift to Janaka. In fact, after the wedding, Janaka also will be giving gift to Dasaratha. So it is both parties. Okay. When Dasaratha arrived at Midilapuri, Janaka felt very, very happy to see King Dasaratha. Even King Dasaratha was also happy to see King Janaka. Janaka was also known to be a great Raja Rishi. He was known as Raja Rishi, great Rishi. Okay, there are two Janakas if you're looking into in the lineage of Mithila. Later on, we will learn. There are also Janakas. Later, you will also learn about Janakas. You will find in the Upanishads. Janaka's name was also mentioned by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will be mentioning that kings like Janaka attain perfection through his yagyas, through his austerities. Okay, in chapter 3, verse 20, I think if I'm not mistaken, there will be a mention about King Janaka. And King Janaka said that my house, the entire Midilapuri, is exalted by this matrimonial alliance with the house of Raghu. And after exchanging pleasantries, Janaka proposes the marriage to be performed on the following day. And Dasaratha agreed. After that, after the great royal reception, Dasaratha saw and embraced Rama and Lakshmana, who humbly touched the feet of their father. See, Dasaratha did not see Rama for weeks. After he sent Rama with Vishwamitra, and after what he called Tadakavada, Subahumavada, and then sending Marichas, and also after Rama, what he call, broke the bow of Lord Shiva. So many weeks that Dasaratha did not see what they call Rama and Lakshmana, and Dasaratha was very happy to see Rama. Okay, wherever Dasaratha with Rama, Dasaratha will be very, very happy. Dasaratha was totally attached to Rama. No one else but Rama. Okay, you will learn about attachment. Sometimes the Shastra says too much attachment, sometimes it is not very good to people. It cannot be too attached to anything. Attachment binds the individual. Okay, so that part we are going to learn more in the Ayodhya Kanda of Ramayana. Okay, the chapter 70 will be description about the beginning of the ceremony, engagement ceremony of Rama and Sita. In fact, Janaka will invite his brother Kusatdwaja to be part of the yajna. Okay, there was also other reason to invite Kusatdwaja, because Kusatdwaja, his brother, also has two daughters, namely Mandavi and Strutakriti. Okay, which will be given to what they call Bharata and Satrughna. And Janaka had another daughter called Urmila, which will be given to Lakshmana. So Janaka invites his brother Kusatdwaja to be part of the yajna and the marriage ceremony of Sita. And Vashishta narrated the lineage of Rama to King Janaka at the request of Dasaratha. So if you look into the next chapter, actually, the chapter where the entire lineage of Lord Rama, okay, starting from Brahma will be narrated. So their lineage is called, they are called Surya Vamsa. Surya Vamsa, or lineage of Surya. If you look at the Mahabharata, those kings in the line of Mahabharata, in the Mahabharata, they actually coming from Chandravamsa, the lunar dynasty. So Rama is Surya dynasty. So the dynasty, actually, if you are looking into, I have this slide here, which provides the 38 generations of Lord Rama. These are found in Valmiki Ramayana. Valmiki Ramayana, the previous chapter, this chapter actually provides all the lineage from Brahma to Marichi to Kasyapa. Kasyapa Prajapati. Kasyapa has many wives. Okay, they came in past. Vinata, Kadru, Diti, Aditi. And Kasyapa, from Kasyapa, Vivashwan. Vivashwan is the sun god. Okay, there is a description in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 1. Imam Vivashvate Yogam Proktavam Avam Avyayam. Vivashwan. Vivashwan is a sun god. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says the Bhagavad Gita was first spoken to Vivashwan. Vivashwan to Manu. Okay, Manu to Ishvaku. From Vivashwan, Manu. Vivashwan is sun god. Surya. Manu. Manu to Ishvaku. From Ishvaku to Kukshi. Kukshi to Vikukshi. Vikukshi to Bana. Bana to Anaranya. So you remember there is also a curse by Anaranjan to Ravana. Ravana will defeat Anaranjan. Okay, so there will be a curse by Anaranjan that there will be a king. There will be a king that will come in my line, my Vamsa, that will be for your destruction, O Ravana. So you have Anaranja. This is described in what they call Uttarakanda of Valmiki Ramayana. And then from Anaranja you have Trisanku, okay, Dandumara, then Yuvanashva, Mandata, another great king, Mandata, Shuchandi, and it goes to, there is also a mention of a king called Bharata. It's not to be mistaken with another Bharata in the, what they call Mahabharata. This is a different Bharata. There are many kings, many people with the same name like Bharata. You learn Bharata, brother of Rama. You will also have Bharata in Mahabharata. Bharata, who is the son of Dushanta Maharaja and Sakuntala in Mahabharata. In Srimad Bhagavatam, you also learn a Bharata called Jada Bharata. So there are many Bharata. Okay, from Bharata to Ashista to Sagara. King Sagara, we learn about King Sagara earlier in our session 3. We learn about Sagara. Sagara and his 60,000 son. Sagara's son, Asamanja. Asamanja was banished from the kingdom. Okay, Asamanja's son was Ansuman. Ansuman's son was Dilipa. Dilipa's son was Bhagirada. Remember Bhagirada? Bhagirada is the one who brought Ganga to the earth. We learn about the superhuman effort made by Bhagirada to bring Ganga to earth. And then from Bhagirada, Kakutsta. Kakutsta is another great king. Rama is also known as the Kakutsta, come from Kakutsta lineage. Okay, Kaku is the hump of a bull. Indra became a bull. So that king came to know as Kakusta because he was riding on a bull who was actually Indra, holding the Kaku of the bull. Then from Kakusta to Raghu. And then the lineage continues until you come into Ambarisha. This should not be mistaken with Ambarisha. There is also an Ambarisha in Bhagavata Purana where Durvasa Muni offended that Ambarisha, and Sudarshana Chakra was chasing Durvasa Muni until Durvasa Muni surrendered to the Ambarisha. Ambarisha mentioned, and Nahusa. Nahusa is also mentioned in Mahabharata, but Nahusa in the Mahabharata and Yayati you find is mentioned in the lunar dynasty. That Nahusa was cursed by Agastya Muni to become a serpent, and that serpent is a serpent that will catch what you call Bhima. And when Yudhishthira meets the serpent Nahusa, and there was a dialogue between Nahusa and Yudhishthira called Nahusa Prasna, question that will be asked by Nahusa in Vana Parva of the Mahabharata. After answering the question, Nahusa will release Bhima. So you have Nahusa. That is a story about Nahusa. Nahusa and then Yayati. Yayati who wanted to become, who became old, being cursed, he became old and he wanted to gain his youth. He requested one of his sons to take over his old age. Okay, so Yayati. Yayati is a name, but there is also mention of another Yayati in the Mahabharata. From Yayati to Nabhanga and Nabhagha to Adda. Father of Dasaratha is mentioned as Adda, and then Dasaratha, Rama, Lava, Kusa, and the lineage. Okay, so these are the 38 generation of lineage of Lord Rama mentioned in chapter 70 of Balakanda of Valmiki Ramayana. Now in this chapter, in chapter 71, the 71st chapter, we will find that Janaka will narrate his lineage and takes oath to give Rama, Sita to Rama, and Urmila to Lakshmana. Okay, so the lineage of King Janaka will be traced up to 20 generations to King Nimi. Okay, if you are looking into the lineage of King Janaka or Sita's lineage here, you will find it starts from Nimi to Midi. From Midi you come to be named Midila. Midila Puri come from one of the king of what they call king called Midi and Janaka. There are two Janakas here. Not only this Janaka, after King Midi there is also Janaka 1. And then Udavasu, Nandivardhana, Suketu. Suketu is mentioned here. There is also a mention of Suketu in the incident of Tadaka when what we call Vishwamitra will be narrating to Ranama about Tadaka. But that's a different Suketu. Different names you have. Then you have Devaratha. Devaratha was a king of Mithila who received the bow of Lord Shiva. Okay, that was the bow that was kept in Mithilapuri until it was broken by Lord Rama. So you have Devaratha, Bruhudatha, Mahavira, all these kings all the king look into the lineage, his lineage. Okay. Then you have Janaka and Kusatwajha. So these are the lineage of Sita, lineage of Janaka. Now after the lineage has been narrated, these two chapters, chapter what you call 70 and 71, okay, chapter 70 and 71, all about narration of the great lineage of King Dasaratha and also King Janaka. And then here in chapter 72, 72nd chapter will be the description about Janaka. Vishwamitra in this chapter requests Janaka on behalf of Dasaratha and with the permission of Vashishta for the hands of his daughters and the daughters of his brother Kusatwaja, for the 4 sons of Dasaratha, and Janaka will give agreement to that. And after the agreement, now this chapter is a very important chapter. It's a chapter where the great wedding of that particular yuga took place. Okay, it was said that the wedding was witnessed by all the devas came to witness the wedding. And there is also a belief by many acharyas, okay, and also commentators of what they call Ramayana, who say that if anybody, especially ladies, young girls, wants to get married, they find difficulty in getting married. They continuously read this chapter, indirectly it is said there is a belief system. It is up to individual, up to you. If you have full faith, full devotion on Ramayana and with Rama, read the chapter on Sita Kalyanam. It is called the chapter on marriage of Sita. If they read, okay, it is very auspicious for them, especially for people who have any difficulty you find due to past karmic reaction or whatever. This chapter is a very important chapter. Okay, in this chapter 73, 73rd chapter of Balakanda, the wedding ceremony will commence. Dasaratha will approach. Dasaratha will approach it and send a word to Janaka, who said, "This is Emperor Dasaratha's own house." So he's actually Atiti Devo Bhava, as I have mentioned to you earlier. Okay, Dasaratha welcomes, Janaka welcomes Dasaratha and said, "This is like your own house. Come, we are waiting for your arrival for this ceremony." Okay, then the worship of what they call Agni will commence as a preliminary wedding rites. And the holiest among sages, all the sages were there. Vashishta was there, Sadananda was there, Vishwamitra was there. All the sages were present there. Okay. At the climax of the ceremony, King Janaka led Sita to Rama, placing his hand in his and said to Rama, this is a very famous sloka, the famous sloka in the Sita, what they call wedding, the sloka that he will mention, Yam Sita Mama Sutta Saha Dharma Chari Toa. The famous sloka, Yam Sita Mama Sutta, that he will give the hand of Sita to Rama. Oh Rama, this is Sita, my daughter. Oh Rama, from today is your partner in life. Accept her. Hold her in your hands. She will always follow you as your shadow. The whole world, even celestials, the devas, rejoice at the wedding. And of course, Janaka also gave Urmila to Lakshmana, and on behalf of his brother, he gave Mandavi to Bharata and Srutakriti to Shatrughna. So this is a chapter. If you have time, if you have the Valmiki Ramayana, okay, I mentioned to you the Valmiki Ramayana, Balakandam, chapter 73, it is said to be very auspicious. Apart from other chapters, there are also other chapters that are auspicious, especially chapters on Rama Pattabhichega. To this part is in Balakanda, one of the auspicious chapter is a chapter 73. You can read this chapter. Okay. Continuously reading this chapter, people say it is auspicious, Mangalam. It is a very auspicious chapter to read. Chapter on wedding between Rama and Sita. And after the wedding of Rama and Sita, royal wedding is over. After the completion of wedding, what happened? All the king and sages and guests were ready to depart. Okay, they spent certain amount of time after the wedding in Janakapuri. Not immediately after the wedding, they wanted to go. Sage Vishwamitra also took leave of the kings and immediately proceeded to Himalayas. Okay, this is the last in Ramayana we will be hearing about Sage Vishwamitra. Sage Vishwamitra, we have heard from Balakanda chapter 18 up to chapter 74. He was present. So if you are looking into Balakanda, 80% of chapters in the Balakanda, Vishwamitra was present. In fact, a lot of stories about Vishwamitra, how he became Brahma Rishi, was narrated from chapters 51 up to 65 about Vishwamitra. After that, we will not see Vishwamitra. Okay, Vishwamitra, of course, you will also be present in Mahabharata. Mahabharata time, he was also present. Okay. Now, King Dasaratha was also getting ready to leave. And at that time, Janaka gave him many presents. It's mentioned thousands of cows, germs, and other things were given present. If you read the chapters, what are the presents given by Janaka has been mentioned there. But I'm just going to start with many presents were given by King Janaka to Dasaratha. And as King Dasaratha was heading towards Ayodhya with his sons and daughters-in-laws, other sages, he found there was a mix of good and bad omens. This is called Nimitta Shastra. Nimitta Shastra is a science of omens. I'm sure some of you are familiar. There is also another Shastra that is called Sakuna Shastra. Sakuna Shastra is a omens that comes from the bird. Saku is birds. Okay. Sakuna Shastra, Nimitta Shastra, based on the Nimitta Shastra. Nimitta is a omens that comes from the nature. There is also another omens that will come later on in Ayodhya Kanda and also in Sundara Kanda. Mainly the two main part of the dream, based on the Bharada's dream and also Trijata's dream in Sundara Kanda. That is called the Sopana Shastra. Sopana Shastra is also, there are also signs and people do a lot of analysis based on dreams. There are also people do analysis based on Nimitta Shastra. Now, for example, if many of you are familiar with the tsunami that happened in December 2004. So before the tsunami happened, it was said there are a lot of bad omens, Nimitta Shastra, because the animals were able to detect something that is unpleasant is going to happen, and then they actually move after they're able to read the signal earlier than human beings. So Nimitta Shastra is one of the Shastra where we learn from the movement of the nature, movement of the animals. So this is called Nimitta Shastra. So what happened at that time, Dasaratha, when he was heading towards Ayodhya, he saw a mix of good and bad omens from the nature. So he consulted Vashishta at that time. And what Vashishta said is that, yes, the omens are not something that is favorable, but based on the nimitta, based on the omens, based on the movement of the nature, Vashishta say that this will not be permanent. This is only going to be temporary. After that, it will be clear. You don't have to worry about it at all, oh King Dasaratha. So based on that omens, after that, they saw at a distance a terrible dust storm. And then they came into their view of the powerful Parasurama with his axe. the sworn enemy of the Kshatriyas. So Parasurama's story is also mentioned not much in the what they call in the Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, but you will find about Parasurama in the Puranas and also in the what they call Mahabharata. Also, it is mentioned. The Puranas, especially Bhagavata Purana and Vishnu Purana, it is mentioned about Parasurama. Why Parasurama became the enemy of Kshatriyas? Parasurama is a son of Jamadagini and Renuka. Parasurama is a Rama with axe. Okay, Parasurama's father will be killed by the Kartavirya Arjunas, the sons of Kartavirya Arjunas. So what will happen is that Parasurama will kill Kartavirya Arjuna. Kartavirya Arjuna is known as Sahasrabahu, one with 1,000 arms. In fact, Kartavirya Arjuna was one of the warriors who was able to defeat Ravana himself. When Ravana wanted to go and conquer all the other warriors. So Ravana lost to two warriors. One was Kartavirya Arjuna, and the other one, of course, you know, is Vali, brother of Sugriva. Okay, so Parasurama will kill Kartavirya Arjuna, and then he will kill 21 generation of Kshatriyas. And then after that, he will, what he call, go to Mount Mahindra to do tapasya. He will give charity, whatever he has earned, to Sage Kasyapa, and he will go to Mahindra mountain. So here Parasurama is appearing before Rama. So sometimes people will ask this question. When I was reading Ramayana long ago, when I was still in school at that time, when I was reading Ramayana, I used to ask the question, how is it possible for Rama is the incarnation of Vishnu and Parasurama is also an incarnation of Vishnu? How is it possible for them to be at the same time? See, at that time, many of us, we are thinking within our own limitation. We are thinking based on our limitation that we are not able to see another version of ourselves. You remember in the Mahabharata, in the Bhagavata Purana, in Canto 2, Krishna expanded himself into 16,000 parts, 16,108 parts. And then there is also a mention in the Bhagavata Purana that Kardama Muni in Canto 3, Kardama Muni expanded himself into 9 portions, 9 parts. So at that time, we were thinking based on our limitation, is it possible for Lord to appear in many forms at the same time? But later on, as we learn and learn, we learn for Lord, for the Bhagavan, he has many births and he can appear at many places at the same time. So Parasurama and Rama appeared at the same time. Both are avatars of Lord Vishnu. So according to few commentators of what they call Ramayana, they say that when Parasurama met Rama and left, the Parasurama Avadara have been completed. The purpose of Parasurama Avadara completed, Rama took over. In fact, powers of Parasurama came to Rama. Okay, so here Dasaratha will be meeting Parasurama. In fact, Dasaratha will surrender to Parasurama to let Rama go because Dasaratha was scared of Parasurama. But Parasurama did not heed to what you call Dasaratha says. So Parasurama turned to Rama and said to Rama, I heard of your marvelous exploit in firing the weapon which was in King Janaka's possession. I have brought another one with me. Parasurama brought Vishnu Danu. Vishnu's Dhanus, Vishnu Danu. Okay, feel it and fire it, O Rama. Show me your strength. If you are successful in doing so, I shall engage you in a duel. So hearing this, Dasaratha was shocked. Dasaratha was in fear. He was shocked. O Brahmana, he said to Parasurama, you had promised to desist from killing rulers and kings after you destroyed many of them, 21 generations of them. How is it that you are breaking your own word of honor, O Parasurama? Surely you have appeared here for my total annihilation, for without Rama, none of us here could live. Parasurama, Dasaratha surrendered to Parasurama. But this surrender was not successful. This Saranagati was not successful. So what happened is that Parasurama did not heed to whatever Dasaratha said. He straight away addressed Rama. Oh Rama, the weapon that you broke in Mithila and the one with me were both made by Vishwakarma. Vishwakarma is the architect of gods. So Vishwakarma's Amsa came in Ramayana to help Lord Rama, that is Nala. Nala was the one who will be responsible, who was the one who will build a bridge towards Lanka. And Nala was an Amsha of Vishwakarma. Vishwakarma is considered to be an architect of gods. Okay, so Lord Shiva used the other one and Lord Vishnu used this one. Once the Devas wished to determine which of the two was more powerful, Devas wanted to know. They just wanted to create a quarrel between, at that time, Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva's weapon silenced Lord Vishnu's weapon. And then they made a peace. Thus, outwitted, Lord Shiva gave this weapon to Devarata. Remember, Devarata is one of the ancestors of King Janaka. And King Janaka, from one of his lineage, they kept that Danu in the palace of King Janaka. It was kept there until it was broken by Lord Rama. The one given by Lord Vishnu to Sage Rishika was one of the grandfather of Parasurama. He gave it to my father, he said. Father of Parasurama was Jamadagini. Jamadagini refused to use it. Taking advantage of this, Sahasrabahu. Sahasrabahu is Kartavirya Arjuna. He is known as Sahasrabahu because he has 1,000 arms, it was said in the Puranas and in the Ramayana it is mentioned. To avenge his death, I destroyed all the Kshatriyas and won the world and presented it to Sage Kashyapa Muni. Given to Kashyapa Muni. Since then, I retired from active combat and now living in Mahindra Mountain. But hearing of your feat in Mithila, I came here to challenge you. Pull this weapon and fire it, and I shall offer you a deal. So Parashurama is one of the Chiranjeevi. He was present in Mahabharata. Parashurama was a guru of Bhishma. He also taught Drona. He also taught Karna. Karna lied to Parashurama that he was a Brahmana. And later Parashurama cursed Karna that whatever you have learned, the mantras, that it will not come to your assistance at the time of your needs. That was a curse of Parashurama to what they call Karna. So Bhishma, before he became a Bhishma, he was Devavrata. Devavrata learned the Astras and Sastras from Parashurama, his own guru. In fact, later in the episode of Amba's episode, when Amba wanted Parashurama to teach, to kill Bhishma, there was a fight between Bhishma and Parashurama. They fought for 20 over days, and finally Parashurama was defeated by Bhishma. That you will find in Mahabharata. So Parashurama is considered to be one of the Chiranjeevi. Hanuman is also one of the Chiranjeevi. Okay, after respectful silence, okay, nobody had to talk to Parashurama. After the silence, Rama looked at everybody in silence, including Vashishta was in silence, all the other sages was in silence. Rama replied to Parashurama, Holy One, O Parashurama, I have heard of you and the way in which you avenge your father's murder, and I approve of it. Now, O Parashurama, witness what I am going to do. Rama got hold of the weapon, loaded in, and got it ready. In anger, Rama said to Parashurama, I cannot kill you, O Parashurama, because you are a worshipful Brahmana. But once The arrow is ready to be fired. Tell me at what shall I direct it? Either I shall make it impossible for you to move about, or I can deprive of you the worlds that you have earned. Parasurama said, I have won the whole earth from the kings and gave it to sage Kasyapa as my offering. He then told me not to live in my kingdom. Hence, I retired to Mahendra mountain. But please do not deprive me of my movement. I shall go away to Mount Mahendra at once. You may deprive me of the world that I have earned, or my sight. I am not ashamed of having defeated by you, for I know your Lord Vishnu himself, and that you knew these weapons so well. Fire the weapon, O Rama, and I shall depart. Rama discharged the missile, and Parasurama went to Mahendra mountain after humbly saluting Rama. Now, there was a commentary of commentary of the Ramayana of one of the commentator, not a very famous commentator, but I doubt the commentary because if you are looking into Valmiki Ramayana in this chapter, the direction that the Rama discharged the missile was towards northern side, northern direction, not western direction, if I'm not mistaken, not western direction, not to the direction where one of the commentators say the place where the Rama discharged a missile is in Australia currently. He said Australia originated from this word Australaya. Australaya. Australaya became Australia as it is known today. If it is so, the direction that the Rama would have discharged the weapon would have gone towards the south. But it is a commentary. We have many commentary. We have to look again into Valmiki Ramayana to check whether it can be accepted or not accepted. But if you are looking at the Valmiki Ramayana in this particular chapter, the direction was not towards the south. But it is opinion. I can say it is more like an opinion of a commentator who say Rama discharged the weapon, that is the arrow, and the arrow went and a new land that has been created. That land became Australaya. Australaya is actually Australia. Okay, there are many theories to that, but there is no proper research that has been done to say that it is true. But from Valmiki Ramayana, the direction of the arrow did not go towards that direction, towards the south. So that's the completion of that chapter. And seeing Dasaratha still in daze, still worried, Rama respectfully informed him of the departure of what they call Parasurama. So he informed him of the departure of Parasurama, and all of them continued their journey towards Ayodhya, and they reached Ayodhya. The citizens who had been informed of Rama's achievement and his wedding gathered throughout the royal route to look at and to cheer and to bless Rama. So the citizens are all cheering and they are blessing Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrukana, and their wives, Sita, Urmila, Mandavi, and Sutakriti. On the arrival at the palace, the boys and their brides. So they said the boys and their brides. Their age, you have to remember, at that time, the Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrugna, they are all 12 plus their age. And then Sita's age was 6. Nothing mentioned about the age of Urmila, Mandavi, and Sutakriti in Valmiki Ramayana. We learn about that in Balakandam. We don't hear much in other kandas, and we will also learn in Yuddha Kanda. Okay, so not much has been mentioned about their age, except Sita's age is mentioned. Okay, we will find about the age of Sita later on in Ayodhya Kanda. Also, it will be mentioned, and Aranya Kanda also it will be mentioned. It will also be mentioned in Sundara Kanda also. Okay. Now, on the arrival at the palace, the boys and their brides were lovingly received by all, and the four divine couple lived happily, fulfilling all their family, social, and religious duties. After several years, so not several years, you can look into the years, there's 12 up to 24. After the time of 24 years, 24th plus coming, Rama coming to 25th, then Dasaratha will be making a decision to go coronate Rama. So about 12 over years, they were living happily. And one day, King Dasaratha reminded Bharata and Satrughna that Bharata's uncle, Bharata's uncle's name is Yudhajit. Okay, Yudhajit was waiting to take them to meet their grandfather. That is in Kekeya, kingdom of Kekeya. Yudhajit was a brother of Kaikeyi, a son of King Ashwapati. King Ashwapati, the king of Kekeya, currently somewhere in Afghanistan. Some commentators say it is closer to Russia, somewhere in Afghanistan region. Mostly they are saying Afghanistan, closer to Gandhar. Gandhara area, you learn in Mahabharata. You had a kingdom called Kekeya at that time. So Dasaratha reminded Bharata and Satrughna they have to go to kingdom of Kekeya to meet the grandfather. The grandfather wanted to meet them. So of course they have gone, taking leave of their parents and also Rama, Bharata, Rama, also their mothers. Bharata along with Shatrughna. Of course, they would have taken their wife. It is not mentioned in Balakanda, Valmiki Ramayana. They would have taken Mandavi and Srutragriti as well, left for his grandfather's house at the kingdom of Kekeya. So Rama and Lakshmana continued to serve their parents and preceptors. Okay, their gurus. They did all the services which had to be done to their preceptors. They thus delighted the hearts of King Dasaratha, the holy ones, and the others. And the people of Ayodhya also pleased with the noble disposition of Rama, and Sita and Rama exceedingly devoted to each other. Sita knew even the unexpressed desires and intentions of Rama and lovingly fulfilled them. So you have to know this particular sloka. The husband sometimes need to know the unexpressed desire of the wife, and the wife also need to know some of the unexpressed desires of the husband. This is what we call psychological contract. A psychological contract is not a written contract or a verbal contract where one party clearly stipulates what are their expectations. The psychological contract is a contract in our mind. Psychological contract is a contract that exists in every relationship. Relationship at workplace, relationship with your friend, relationship at work, not only at work, relationship at home. So here, Sita and Rama, from the particular verse, we are able to learn that both Sita and Rama are aware of the psychological contract of each other. So some of you want to know what is psychological contract, you want to learn more, you can do some search about what is this psychological contract. Okay, you can go and do some further search if you want to. Remember that Sita knew even the unexpected desires and intentions of Rama, and Rama also knew the unexpected desires and expectations of Sita, and both of them able to fulfill them lovingly. So for any relationship to endure in a long term, it is important not only to know the expressed desire or expectation, but it is also important to know the other party's unexpected desires and intention, which is the psychological contract. Okay, that actually, if you look into chapter 77, chapter 77 concludes Balakandam of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. That actually concluded. Okay, now I'm going to review some of the important session of the Balakanda. Okay, some of you who have a notebook, you can take in notes if you want to. The review of 5 sessions. The chapters, I will just go through with you some of the chapters. If you recall, when we started with the history of Valmiki Ramayana, how Valmiki Ramayana started. Valmiki Ramayana started with the inquiry of Valmiki to Narada Muni. Remember the first sloka number 2 to sloka number 4 of Balakandam. Valmiki requested Narada to give him the description of a particular person who possesses all the qualities, 16 qualities. Remember the qualities? Konvashmin Sampratam Loke Gunavan Ascha Viryavan Dharmaknyascha Kritaknyascha Satyavakya Ridavradaha. This is sloka number 2. And then he continues the quality. Charitrena Chako Yuktaha Sarvabhuteshu Kohitaha Vidvan Kakta Samartasya Kakya Eka Priya Darshanaha. This is sloka number 3. And sloka number 4. Atmavanko Jita Krodo Dutiman Ko Anusuyaka Asya Vibhyati Devasya Jata Roshasya Samyuge. All the 16 qualities. Who is he? Then Narada will describe, okay, about Rama, and Ramayana in nutshell will be narrated by Narada Muni. That is chapter 1. Chapter 1 is also known as Shamchipa Ramayana. There are 100 slokas in chapter 1. Chapter 1, anybody reads the chapter 1, you read Ramayana in summary. Okay, that is actually the executive summary of the Ramayana. Okay, executive summary, or sometimes people call something like an abstract of the Ramayana. Okay, and then chapter 2 and chapter 3, Narada will get divine wisdom. Okay, Brahma will bless him. Okay, the incidents where the hunter will shoot the arrow at the Kroncha bird, and then he will curse. The curse will become a verse. Brahma will come, and Brahma will bless Valmiki, and he will tell that Ramayana that you are going to narrate will be present in this world as long as there are mountains and rivers flourish on the surface of this earth. And then chapter 4, Ramayana will be composed by Valmiki, and then he will teach to Lava and Kusa. Lava and Kusa will be narrating Valmiki Ramayana, the Ramayana to Rama himself. That is chapter 1 to 4. Chapter 5 and 7 will be all about description of the kingdom of Kosala, the city of Ayodhya, what are the type of people who are living in Ayodhya, the ministers of king of Ayodhya, all will be in chapter 5 to 7. Chapter 8 to 18 will be about the yajna that will be commenced by Dasaratha, Ashwamedha yajna, then Putra Kamesti yajna, and then during this performance of the yajna, before the performance of the yajna, narration about Risha Singha will be there, and then all the other narrations. Then you have birth of Rama, Bharata, Lakshmana, Satrugana, and also the Vanaras also mentioned up to chapter 18. Chapter 8 to chapter 18. And then chapter 19 to chapter 23, Rama and Lakshmana will accompany Vishwamitra. Of course, in chapter after that, chapter 24 to 31, there will be Tadaga Vadam. Okay, Tadaga will be killed, and then Vishwamitra will teach Rama and Lakshmana all the missiles. Okay, and then chapters 33 to 37. Okay, what will happen here is that there will be stories narrated by Vishwamitra about Vamanavadara, stories about Lord Shiva, Parvati, birth of Kartikeya or Skanda. Okay, and then chapters 38 to 47 is about the descent of Ganga to earth, how Ganga came down. Okay, story of Bhagirath, started with story of Sagara and his 60,000 sons, Asamanja, Ansuman, from Ansuman, Dilipa to Ganga, Bhagirath, and how Bhagirath brought Ganga to earth. Okay, and then chapters, and after one more thing in that particular chapters, it will be Kurma Avadara will also be narrated. Okay, chapter 48 to 50 will be redemption of Ahalya. Okay, Ahalya will be cursed by Gautama Muni. Indra will also be cursed, and then Ahalya will be redeemed by Rama. And then chapters 51 to 65 was all about Vishwamitra, how Vishwamitra became a Brahma Rishi. And then chapters 66 to 73, okay, like what we have looked at in this session was marriage of Rama and Sita, Rama's marriage. And chapters 74 to 76, Rama's encounter with Parasurama, which we have just completed. And chapter 77 was happy days after the marriage of Rama and Sita. They were living happily. So these are the review of Balakanda, of all the 77 chapters that we have covered. So we are going to look into the practical lessons, what we can take from Balakandam. So I don't think I want to do a breakup session because we have only 15 minutes of our time. Maybe the breakup session we can do when we go into session 6, when I start with Ayodhya Kanda. Okay. In these 15 minutes, you please take a piece of paper and pen or pencil. Some of the practical lesson, you may want to take one or two of this lesson and elaborate how it will be useful for you. And after that, you can email to Professor Gupta, who is the course manager, who is managing this course. Okay, as part of your attendance that you have followed Balakanda, you have completed Balakanda, you can send the lessons, practical lessons. Not necessarily you have to go through 5 or 6, at least 1 or 2 lessons, how you can practice. Okay, what are the lessons from Balakandam? Lessons from Balakandam, number 1 is that the birth of a great leader. Great leader, when he takes birth, when we say a leader is a great, there are characteristics, there are personality, there are traits that he or she must possess. There are 16 traits of a great leader mentioned in Balakandam of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. In fact, if you go and search Balakandam, chapter 1, sloka 2 to sloka 4, some of the sloka that I have mentioned to you earlier, you will be able to find the 16 qualities. In fact, one of the breakout sessions that we had during session 1, you had actually discussed these 16 qualities. So, identify these 16 qualities. How these qualities you can develop within you. If you want to become a great leader, great person, if you want to develop your personality like Rama, develop the qualities of Rama. So what are the qualities? Remember some of the qualities, one who are able to control himself, Atmamanko, Jita, Kroto, control of an anger, one who have a great personality, who is not jealous of anybody, Anasuyaka, who takes care of well-being of all the being. So all these qualities identify. Number one, lesson number one, it narrates qualities to develop in ourselves. Second lesson, lesson number two from Balaganda is that in life sometimes we might be trying our best. We did all that we can. Ultimately, we have no one to turn to. Finally, we have to surrender to the Supreme. In fact, Balagandam teaches you many types of surrender. Surrender, one of the surrender or Saranagati in Balaganda is a surrender of the Devas to Vishnu. Devas cannot contain the havoc created by Ravana. Ravana was creating a great havoc throughout the three worlds. The Devas, no way the Devas can do anything because the Ravana has immunity against the Devas, Rakshasas, Gandharvas, gods. No one can defeat Ravana. Even though they can defeat, they are not able to defeat because of the Brahma's boon to Ravana. But Ravana cannot be defeated by a human being. Vanaras cannot defeat. Sorry, Ravana can be defeated by human beings or Vanaras. So he has no immunity against human beings. So Deva surrendered. They tried their level best. When you cannot do anything, you tried the level best. Just like the story of Gajendra Moksha in the Bhagavatam. Gajendra delivered, tried years after years, thousands of years, that is mentioned in Bhagavatam. Finally, had no choice, he surrendered to Narayana, surrendered to Vishnu, came on Garuda to save Gajendra. Another incident in Mahabharata, you learn about Draupadi, surrender ultimately. But first, we try our best. We can't. Last resort is a surrender. Saranagati, it mentions, it teaches us about Saranagati. Number three, one of the things that you have to learn is that the incident of Manmatha, whose body was burned to ashes by Lord Shiva. It teaches us when somebody is doing prayers, tapasya, somebody is in deep meditation, concentration, please do not mock them, do not make fun of them, do not disturb them, do not disrupt them. You see what happened to Kamadeva, that is Manmada, the Cupid, who went to disrupt. Actually, he was requested by Indra. Okay? He went to disturb a tapasya, the prayer. It's not a prayer, he was doing tapasya, intense austerity. Manmada wanted to go and disrupt him. So Lord Shiva opened his eyes, he burned Manmada. Manmada had no body. The Lord of Love has no body. Only Rati will be able to see his body. He is without body. So do not disturb or disrupt people who are praying, doing tapasya. So because if they, during that time, when they are angry, it is not very good. Okay, some of them might curse. I mentioned to you during the last session, do not curse people. Okay, that is also one of the lessons. Later on, you can say, do not curse. When you curse, whatever merits that you earn from your tapasya will be lost. Okay, so just like Vishwamitra, he cursed, he did this, he tried to create another heaven for Prasanko. All his tapasya, whatever he gains power from his tapasya was lost, and then he had to go back again, do again the tapasya. Number four, please take care of the environment. This lesson on taking care of the environment, taking care of the earth is found in the episode of the sons of Sagara. 60,000 sons of Sagara was burned to ashes by Lord Kapila, by sage Kapila. Kapila is also one of the incarnation of Narayana. It was said, okay, earth need to be taken care of. You know what they were doing? They were destroying the earth. They were digging here, digging there. The earth was being destroyed. The sons of Sagara. So Devas all went to Brahma. Brahma said, Kapila Muni will teach them a lesson. So do not destroy the earth. Earth, one should not destroy the earth. It is said in the Shastra, earth is one of our mother. Bhuma Devi is considered to be one of the mother. Bhagavata Purana mentions this. Bhagavata Purana mentions there are 7 mothers. Of course, biological mother is one of the mother. Biological mother is one. Second, it is mentioned that wife of a spiritual master, wife of a guru is also should be considered as a mother. And the Bhagavatam also mentioned that the wife of the king, the queen, okay, king at that time was very powerful. Since he said that the king is a representative of the Deva, they should also be regarded as a mother. And then it also says somebody who nurses you from any injury, who gives you food, who nurses you also should be considered as a mother. It is also mentioned that the cow should also be considered as a mother, Gomata, cow. And it is also mentioned that the earth, Bhuma Devi, is also considered to be the mother. So there are many mothers. There is also in Mahabharata also mentioned fathers are also many. But we can pick it up in the next other sessions when we are looking into who are fathers, who are the mothers. Fathers and mothers are not only biological. Okay? So take care of the earth. Do not destroy earth. See what happened to the sons of Sagara when they destroyed the earth by digging the earth. Okay? Number 5, you have to learn that from Balakanda, one of the key word is tapasya. If you want to get something, you need to do tapasya. Tapasya means austerity. First verse of Valmiki Ramayana, Balakandam Sloka 1 start with tapasya. Tapashwat ya niratam tapashvin vakvitamvaram naradam paripaprapya Valmiki Munipungavam. And we learn tapasya. Tapasya done by Dasarada and his wife to gain during the yagya, Ashwamedha yagya. Tapasya of Dasaratha going to get Rishyasingha to come. That was a great tapasya. Every day throughout the year he was involved in the yagya. And then tapasya done by Sagara, which actually did not succeed. After Sagara, Ansuman, and then Dilipa, and then tapasya of Bhagirath. How Bhagirath made superhuman effort to bring Ganga down. That was a great tapasya. Bhagirath did not give up. No point of time he didn't give up. The same also the tapasya, austerity done by Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra was not happy with what he has achieved. He started, even though he gained astras from Lord Shiva, but he wanted to become a rishi that is called Brahma Rishi. From Raja Rishi, he was not happy. From what you call Maharishi, he was not happy until he became a Brahma Rishi. And then from the tapasya, we learned that one have to give up enemies. One have to overcome the enemies. The what you call the Ashat Ripu. Ashat, the Ripu, the Sat Ripu, that is Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya. All these things we need to give up. Like Vishwamitra's case, when Menaka came, he lost to Kama. And then he later overcame, he was able to defeat Kama. When Ramba came, he defeated Kama, but he lost to anger, Krodha. Okay, and Krodha, because he cursed Ramba to become a stone, to change into a stone. Then he realized, after he realized, okay, he managed to win over Kama, Krodha. He managed to overcome hunger, even after he wanted to break his fast. Okay, Indra came. And then what happened? He has to give away his food. Then he continued his charity until he became Brahma Rishi. So what can we learn from tapasya? Are we doing enough tapasya? It's very important for us. Control our mind, control our senses, okay, to achieve whatever goals that we set. That is tapasya. We can learn a lot of tapasya from the story of Bhagirath and also Vishwamitra. This is a lesson number 5. Lesson number 6. Learn to be humble. Learn from Rama. Rama was humble. In the case of Rama, when he was sent to Vishwamitra, he humbly requested the sage, whatever things he want, he did not show. Although Rama is powerful, but he always waited for instruction from his guru. He followed the command of his guru. There is a sloka in that is said, Vidya Dadati Vinayam. In Hitopadesa, that says that education makes us humble. If you become educated, you become humble, it says. Case of Rama, even in the court of Janaka, Rama was silent. Only when he was requested to. Only when he is needed, then he spoke. Spoke only when your opinion have been requested. He gets permission from Vishwamitra, gets permission from Janaka before he looked at the bow. And then in the incident of Parasurama also the same. Rama was very humble. Becoming humble is very, very important. Learn to be humble. More and more you are educated, you will become humble. Okay? That is number 6. Number 7 is very important for children, especially for children following the commands of their parents. For Rama, Pitru Vakya Paripalana. Pitru Vakya Paripalana means he honors or follows the command of his father. His father said, go and follow Vishwamitra. He didn't say, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go to the forest. No way I'm going to go to the forest. Rama followed command of the father. And then Rama did not agree to the marriage immediately. Rama requested the information to be sent to Dasaratha, and after getting the agreement of Dasaratha, Dasaratha agrees after consultation with his preceptors and also ministers, then Dasaratha came to Ayodhya. Okay, so Pitru Vakya Paripalana. So these are about 7 I'm able to find. If you are able to find more from Balakanda, in fact, some more, if I'm going to look into one of the sloka, it says that a king sometimes might do things that might be not things that people might not feel right, but it is right if everybody, that means for the entire citizens, entire country, if it is right, he has to do, even though it might not be seen ethical. In a case of when Rama, Vishwamitra requested Rama to kill Tadaka, Rama in the beginning hesitated because Tadaka was a woman, was a lady. But Vishwamitra say, you have to do. Sometimes things that might not be seen unworthy needs to be done for the sake of dharma in general, like what Krishna did in the Mahabharata many times. Krishna did that in Mahabharata. Many other slokas. If you are able to recall, if you are able to find, please write down. And most importantly, the practical lessons that you need to email is that how whatever lessons you have learned from Balakandam will be useful to you and will be useful for your development, your own development in life. Okay, that will be sufficient for the homework. So we have completed Balakandam, Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasra Rama Tatulyam Rama Rama Varanane. So please email the the homework to Professor Gupta, and after you have emailed, I'll be sending you the reading materials and also the slides for session 6. Session 6 will be on Ayodhya Kanda. Ayodhya Kanda is a book where all the drama starts. All the emotional aspects of Ramayana starts in Ayodhya Kanda. Ayodhya Kanda, a lot more lessons to be explored from Ayodhya Kanda of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. So anybody have any questions, you can write down. We won't have time now to look at to answer the questions because I see it is already it's already time. All right. So thank you so much for coming for this session, and please do your homework and submit to Professor Gupta, and I shall meet you next week. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.